Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 37 female, come from a close-knit family, and I have one sister, I'll call her Estella, 30 female, and my elder brother, 41 male. I say we are close-knit because we usually celebrate major holidays and events with our extended family. My brother and I are married with 2 kids each. I live with my husband, 40 male, and our children ages 12 and 10 in our apartment, and my sister, who is a single mom, lives with her son, 10 male, some streets away. My brother lives in the same town as my parents, and it's about an hour-long drive. My little nephew, Estelle's son, has been some sort of concern in the family given his disposition and temper tantrums. We got to know about this when Estelle settled in the same town as us because he attends the same school with my children and sometimes he stays over at my place. My nephew can be rude and selfish. I usually excuse his behavior since he's an only child who never had to share. But I also noticed that he liked to take advantage of kids he feels he's physically stronger than. He bullies younger kids. I've heard reports about him from school and even observed his attitude whenever he's with my children. I brought up his attitude when his mother, my sister, had been called to the school concerning his bullying ways, but Estelle dismissed it, saying the school did not understand her child. She never really corrects him because she thinks he's autistic. She claimed he was recently diagnosed with autism, but when we probed further, she refused to disclose how she came about this diagnosis since it wasn't from the family doctor we all know. Estelle has never been a fan of going to the hospital, and her son said he's not been to the hospital in a long time. However, Estelle would not budge and insisted we stop questioning her son's diagnosis and just get used to it. She expects everyone to cater to his whims and placate him whenever he throws his loud tantrums, which usually involves a lot of screaming, using foul language, and property damages. Currently, our family organizes a holiday function, and most of our extended family are here. My husband and I are hosting a Christmas party in our house. My siblings, some cousins, and the little children all joined us for the party preparations. These past few days, my nephew has been a terror to the other children. He was also disrespectful and disobedient to the adults in the family. His mom kept making excuses, and while some of us were fed up, we just decided to overlook his actions so we wouldn't ruin Christmas. It didn't go as planned because, on Christmas Day, he snuck into the room with the tree and gifts and started opening presents. We only found out because we woke up to him screaming and trashing the place. He had destroyed a few gifts he thought were his because he didn't like them. I was appalled by his actions and was ready to tell him off when my sister joined us. We explained what happened, and even though she saw that we were all upset, she tried to blame his actions on us. When that didn't work, she casually asked that we ignore it because he's just stress and is having an autistic episode. I wasn't buying her excuse anymore. I've educated myself on autism and my nephew wasn't. I told my sister she had to reprimand her kid, but she refused, claiming we were at fault for leaving the room open. Estelle still insisted that he was autistic, so in anger, I asked her to prove it by providing evidence of medical diagnosis to back up her claims. She screamed at me for asking such, but I reminded her that I find it hard to believe her, since she had made up medical claims in the past that were lies. When she tried to deny it, I brought up the fact that she once swindled us of a large sum of money while lying that she had cancer. As it turned out, she used it for a vacation, and that's how she got pregnant. My sister began bawling and kept going on about how I embarrassed her by bringing up something she did as a child. But that wasn't the only time she'd done it and gotten away with it. I asked if her child was autistic and she shrugged it off, saying it would be cool if he's one. I wasn't falling for her tears and demanded she pay for damages or buy some wrapping papers so we could salvage the damage her son did. My sister refused to, and she left the house with the child to avoid paying for damages. She also called our parents and lied that I threw her out. Now, some of my family members think I was a bit harsh on her. Am I the a-hole here? Update. Here's what happened afterwards. The Christmas party turned out to be a swell time for all of us, despite what happened earlier. We were able to restore some gifts and we had a fun time. Me and my husband decided that we've had enough of my sister and a child. Going forward, we both agreed we won't invite them to further parties until my sister decides to be accountable and be a better parent to her child. Thank you. You're not the a-hole, OP. You and your husband did the right thing by deciding to cut contact with your sister until she apologizes and becomes a better parent to her child. She might believe she's doing the right thing, but this is the worst thing she could do for this kid. Indulging and allowing him to get away with bad behavior will only ruin him in the long run. I really hope your sister changes and sees she's failing her kid as a mother. Story 2. I, 28 male, am currently pretty much estranged from my family. I have a younger sister, 27 female, Tori. When one of my friends, Brendan, 28 male, started dating Tori, I hated it at first. But eventually I gained a best friend. They got married in 2018 and I was the best man. Brendan is now like my brother. We are that close. In 2020, Tori left Brendan for another guy. Reality TV type shit. My parents were incredibly upset, as was I. My sister moved in with the guy immediately. My parents knew I was pissed but had to support their daughter. I went no contact with Tori and low contact with my parents. In 2020, when Tori's second wedding happened, I didn't go. Me and my dad had it out over it. My mother tried playing peacekeeper for the family. My parents then started giving me the silent treatment. When the 2020 holiday season came around, it was the height of COVID. My parents said that I should just do my own thing this year, because with me going out a lot, they didn't want me spreading diseases. My exact response was, if you are worried about catching diseases from other people, shouldn't you be more worried about Tori? I mean, she's the one who likes to sleep around. My dad and I had another fight, especially due to his family over everything mantra. I hardly spoke to my family in 2021. My parents would send me texts like, when you are ready to apologize, we'll be here type shit. I responded with a Bible verse about adultery and how they support it. I was berated again and we hardly spoke until October of 2021. Last year, I was told we were doing Thanksgiving at Tori's place and if I wanted to come, I needed to apologize to Tori and her husband. I laughed and ended up going to Brendan's family, where Brendan's mom posted me with the family on Facebook and tagged me with a quote about family being those you choose. I never told her to post it, but my mom saw it and went apeshit, asking for me to come over and talk and even comment on the post. So this year my plan is to go to Brendan's family again. My mom called and said she wanted to host this year. I asked if Tori and her husband would be there. She said of course, they are family. I said so was Brendan, but I saw how you treated him and me, so no thank you. Yesterday my dad called and said my mom is distraught and has been for years. She wants us all to get along, so I need to do the right thing. I said I'll come if my sister isn't invited. He said that he wouldn't do that to family. I said he did that to me for 2 years. He claimed I did it to myself. My mom is now saying it was my dad that had been the hard ass about this the whole time. I said she should have divorced him then because I'm not putting up with his shit anymore. Either my sister isn't invited or I don't come. I've now had some extended family reach out and say my parents are upset and hurt. I said my parents were totally okay with not having me around for 2 years. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For those responding and wondering, yes, she did cheat. Brendan found the text. She never came clean or admitted it. Brendan was willing to forgive and work past it. She left in the middle of the night and moved in with a new guy and took the house he had to sell it. He had it before they married. And so, when I say being held accountable, I think she owes him money on top of everything else. For those commenting on the COVID 2020 thing, I went out like 3 times during it. Save the pearl clutch. My parents aren't even vaxxed. They simply use it as an excuse. They don't give a single shit about COVID. It was just an excuse to keep me away. Not a single mention of it other than that one weekend. OP, you responded with a Bible verse about adultery? Well, if you are so pious, think what would Jesus do? Snark, ultimatums, and holding grudges are not part of it. You can still love and support Brendan. You can be close and choose to spend time with this wonderful family. You don't have to fully forgive your sister, but you can tolerate her, and you certainly don't need to hold your sister's actions against your parents. They just love their children. You both have given them a hard time in different ways, and despite it all, they love you both and want you both close. Because they love you both, the ball is in your court. and you can choose to decide however you like. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. You can support your friend and still be civil with your family, at least for a few days a year like Christmas or birthdays. I mean, what do you expect from your parents? To cut their daughter out of their life because she made a mistake and moved on? Are you going to hold this grudge until you die? Oh, and especially your comments about her sleeping around are super inappropriate. You're the a-hole. With your level of outrage, one would think you were the person cheated on or the victim here. If you want to call your sister out, fine. Hell, if you aren't interested in being close with her anymore, fine. But repeatedly picking fights with the whole family, making stupid comments, expecting your parents to cut off their daughter or not invite her to holiday gatherings is ridiculous. Also, no, your sister is not exposing them to diseases. You go out frequently during the height of COVID and then come home. The fact that you try to compare the two shows how utterly ridiculous you are. Everyone sucks here. Tori's and Brendan's marriage was really not your concern. Is cheating wrong? Oh, absolutely. If she did cheat on him while they were married, then that's on her. But your behavior over this is insane, considering you didn't know the ins and outs of their marriage. You really are behaving as if she had cheated on you. Your comment about how she sleeps around, completely unnecessary. If you're consistently this difficult with your parents, then I could understand why they favor Tori. Your parents can't control Tori's actions, so I'm not really sure why you've been pushing them as well for something they had nothing to do with. However, your parents could make an effort to have separate holidays with you both if you really are dead set on never seeing your sister again. Everyone in this situation needs to grow up. Story 3. My friend moved in with me and my 3-year-old a couple months ago with a 4-year-old and cat. She is mostly only here when she has her kid, but the days the kid is with her dad, my friend is hardly ever here and is over at her boyfriend's house. She does come to make sure the litter is cleaned and the cats, because I have a cat too, are fed before she leaves. But she's never really here. It was an entire month of her leaving the house right after getting home from work, spending some time with the cat, then going straight to her boyfriend's. Most nights, she doesn't even sleep here. She was starting to leave when I asked her if she was going to her boyfriend's. She said yes, then grabbed the keys. I stopped her and said we really needed to talk about her constantly at her boyfriend's. She said, "What is there to talk about?" I told her that I didn't appreciate her going there almost every day if she was going to live here and that there needs to be boundaries. My friend said how she is there every night that she has her kid and that she only leaves when she doesn't because that's the only time she can see him. She stated that she would invite him here, but she wants to be courteous to myself and my son, so she just goes over there and ends up staying the night so that she isn't coming through the door very late when my son is sleeping. She asked if this was about her leaving the cat there some days and mentioned that this was not something I told her would be an issue when establishing house rules. I told her it wasn't about the cat. It was about her never or hardly being there for days at a time when she lives here. She said she wasn't gonna just not see her boyfriend and didn't understand the issue, then walked away. This made me feel confused, and now I'm wondering if I might be wrong. Am I the a-hole? She has also said that she shouldn't have to adjust her social life just because she moved in, but I've told her it's my house. I have rules and boundaries, she's moved into it, and I feel like she can move in with a boyfriend if this is really a problem. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. How does it hurt you if she's not there? She's taking care of all her responsibilities. Just because you use the word boundaries doesn't mean you're being reasonable. I don't understand the issue either. The best kind of roommate is the one who pays rent and bills and who is never there. You should realize this. I just read somewhere that boundaries are limits you set for yourself. Control is limits being set for others. There is no reason for you to have any control over where she spends her time. Why do you need her to be home? If you would like to spend some time with her as your friend, then you should just tell her that, instead of trying to control where she spends her time. Having a roommate who's hardly home seems like a dream situation to me, unless the reason for having one is companionship. You're the a-hole. You're getting paid by a roommate that takes care of her and your cat, buys groceries that she's never home to eat, so more for you, and leaves to see her boyfriend instead of being in the same apartment as your child. You need to talk to your friend about how you feel. Like you're not friends anymore, just two people in the same mailing address. If you two plan girls' dates, I'm sure she would be open to the idea. She sounds so respectful of coming into your living space. I'm sure the last thing she's trying to do is ignore your friendship. I would be a little bummed if my friend came to live with me and it made me see her even less.